What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Oversteer and Underdogs. I'm Rob. This is my buddy Deane here, and it's a sad time of the year for all motorsport fans because there is really not much going on around the world right now. So we're gonna do something a little bit different. We came up with our top 5 each motorsport icons of all time. We're gonna take turns going through it. We've got some pretty interesting individuals on here. Some you might know, some you probably don't. But Deane, take it away for me.
So for me, I'm gonna start off right at number 5 here. I have Lewis Hamilton.
Has that inside line. Perez goes off the track, cuts the chicane. Off goes Leclerc. Through goes Hamilton.
And that might come as kind of a surprise for a lot of these people because this is kind of a Formula One driven channel a lot of the time. Lewis for me was at the end of the day, just looking at who he is, right? 7-time world champion, won with multiple teams, really changed the game when it came to what F1 was. He was kind of like, he's the rebellion, right? So you got to picture, 12, 13-year-old me watching F1 and like, there's this one dude, everybody's all prim and proper and formal. And there's this dude, he comes in, he's got all these tattoos and, he's got the nose piercings and the earrings and his attitude's a bit different. He's a bit of a badass. He walks a certain way, dreads, like he's just a different dude. And I was just instantly drawn to him. Seeing him go out and just dominate. I mean, what other time do you ever see somebody winning by 30, 40 seconds every single race?
Every time,
so
dude.
long.
Every time.
I mean, and it got to the point where like I watched F1 with my dad, seeing him do what he did and my dad reacting like, God, this is almost boring how far ahead he is. But I'm like, it's so cool. Like this guy embodies everything. He embodies everything F1 was against. And he broke that wall down. So for me, that's why he's my number 5. He had that big influence on me. But some of these other guys, they had influence on me much younger and got me into motorsport, which is why he's my number 5 on my icon list.
Hell yeah. No, and honestly, it makes sense why so many people hated his reign. Because like you said, your dad was even like, what are we doing here? But yeah, no. So jumping over to mine, like number 5 for me, honestly, it was somebody who like got me into extreme sports. First really getting into like motocross and like freestyle, X Games, rally, everything. And it's Travis Pastrana.
The 199, go Travis! Pastrana.
Like a lot of Travis, he's been around for like 25 years now, 30 years now at this point.
I feel like I don't even know how long.
Dude, he's been around for a very, very long time. And one of the main reasons why like I have this huge like spot in my motorsport heart for him is the X Games. Growing up, that was one thing like my mom and I did. We would I showed her that I was like into like BMX and like I did like inline skating and things like that. So we always watched the X Games. And then all of a sudden I start seeing these guys throwing these dirt bikes around, backflips, cans, Supermans, like everything like that. And then Travis comes along and he is such a good dude too. He's a very humble man. And not only like was he won AMA 125cc championship in motocross, 4-time rally American national champion. And obviously he changed the game completely when he threw down the first ever in competition double backflip. Like that was just, I remember where I was, dude. I still get chills on my neck.
Yeah. It's so vivid.
It's like you see it. He was in the lumberjack get up, like he had the flannel top on, and
just
everyone knew it was coming. he took a gnarly slam. He never really landed it on land. He landed it
No.
in the foam pit, but he never landed
Yeah.
it on land. And dude, like I'm getting chills talking about it right now. So it's like that, and then obviously like then we had Nitro Circus. It was Jackass tamed down with more extreme sports, and like that dude in a rally car, all of his gymkhanas, him back and forth with the late great Ken Block, like hands down, that's why he's on my top 5. Like honestly, it was hard for me to pick what position to put him in, but he's number 5 for me.
I love that. I mean, if anybody watching hasn't seen the newest Gymkhana, incredible, fantastic, such a fun watch, just so good. Reminds me of the old ones, kind of.
Honestly, hands down, like out of all of them between him and Ken, like it's sad that Ken doesn't have the chance to make a rebuttal, if you will,
because he'd throw down.
He'd throw down because that was, in my opinion, top 3, if not number 1 all-time Gymkhana so far.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, moving on to so that's really interesting, right? Moving on to my number 4, it's actually, so Travis Pastrana is your good guy. If you were growing up that time, bad guy, Brian Deane.
One of the biggest names in action sports, the Intimidator, Brian Deane.
What is it? Is it a 360 flip? Is it a cork out 3? Is it a rodeo variation? It's amazing is what it is. Everybody is going to have to chase Brian Deane from here on out. They add a...
That's my number 4.
Still a dog.
Oh, dude, and Deane, he was another guy. To me, he really changed the game. Okay, anybody who I watched a lot of motocross and freestyle motocross and all the X Games and all that stuff too, growing up. And Deane came in. You had all this stuff happening when he started, right? Crusty Demons, all this these crazy videos of dudes just doing things on motorcycles you're not supposed to. And he was the one that stood out the most for me. You look at just his accomplishments, right? 6-time X Games champion. Only one of those actually being in Moto X freestyle, which surprised me. But a lot of Moto X best trick. He did win in rally as well. But he was just a guy. He hopped in. He drove so many different things, but he was just this badass, evil guy, always in black, massive spikes on his shoulder, but just tough dude. Throughout, he was the first one to do a 360 to dirt. He was the first one. He came up with the underflip thing, which didn't even make sense to me. But I was like, "Oh my god, it's crooked."
Didn't make sense.
He took part when they were doing Winter X Games, and they were doing dirt bike best trick on the snow. They had skis on the front,
dude.
And there's so many stories of him. He actually wrecked at a freestyle competition. He fell so hard that his kidney came out of his body, outside, floating in a suit. Like, come on. And he's fine. He's still going. He still rides motorcycles hard. And then he came up with this idea. This is kind of the biggest thing I think for me is Metal Militia.
I was waiting for it. If you didn't say it, I was going to say it.
Now, I know Rob is pretty familiar with Metal Militia, but if any of you aren't, Metal Militia they're the bad boys of extreme sports. Yeah. You got all these dudes, and it wasn't just Deane. At that point, it was Deane. It was Twitch. It was
Twitch, bro. Dude, I love Twitch.
You had the guys that were throwing down the first 360s, the first front flips, the modifications of the back flip, the modifications of the front flip.
And they were doing it in cut-off T-shirts. They were doing it in no shirts, bro. They didn't care.
Yeah. And that was like I think that was kind of his, he was the Mike Metzger. He was the next evolution of him, I think.
Oh my God. Mike was his own animal too.
Yeah. And, once he finishes in X Games, right? Where does he go? He goes and he races off-road in the 4x4, like core series, just badass off-road trucks racing at Grandin, winning.
Love the trophies.
Love the
winning. Trophy trucks.
I mean, the guy was just an absolute badass. After that, he goes to full-on rallycross. He's actually a global rallycross champion, if you didn't know. He won in 2010.
That's wild.
And then, after that, what's he do? He's bored. You know what? I'm going to make a fucking monster truck. So he gets a monster truck. Again, another thing a lot of you guys might not have watched. Monster Jam, massive thing for me and my dad. He goes, he has a metal militia monster truck. He drives it for a few years, absolutely just tears the thing down every weekend. Then he gets he ends up hiring a crew of drivers who are just as badass. And he really did. He started this movement. Now his son, is absolutely
Menace to
tearing up.
society.
Dude,
Menace to
you
society,
wanna
and
talk-
he's killing it.
Dude, you want to talk about Hayden Deegan is Brian Deegan just like photocopied. We haven't
Literally.
talked about motocross a lot yet. I'm sure we'll get to it, but he wins the championship this year for the 250. And he goes on, they're interviewing him, and he says, you know what? All you guys that hate it, anybody that doesn't like it, you can suck it. On live TV, on NBC Sports, he says, you can suck it.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree on that one.
No. And that's why he's my number 4. There's no copy. There's no copy.
Absolutely. No, that's great. I was so excited when you said that he was like on your list, because I just love talking about all those guys. We had a full like 30-minute back-to-back text conversation about those guys.
Yeah.
So my number 4, actually, we're completely switching it up. Mario Andretti.
Young man who came to this country at the age of 14 as an immigrant from Italy. He had driven racing cars even before he came over here. This was the one he wanted more than anything else in the world. And here it comes, Mario. The checkered flag of victory. He's done it. And look at this scene in the pit.
He nicknamed the Master of Versatility. He was an IndyCar driver in the beginning. He's got like 14 offspring that have now produced IndyCar driver after IndyCar driver as well.
NASCAR
and IndyCar
drivers.
was NASCAR drivers like all over the world. You see Andretti. You even see we see Andretti United, like they're sponsoring IndyCar, they're sponsoring supercars, but IndyCar was huge for me growing up. So my family, we lived in Indiana, and my dad's side of the family, they every year for before I was even born, and I believe they're still doing it since I left, we would have the same seats, turn 4, I think it was row F. My dad and I had like seats 22, 23, something like that, but it was perfect. At the Indy 500, see them come off of the straightaway on the back stretch to turn 3 all the way through 4, which is where a lot of the juicy accidents happen. So it was a great spot. And then you could see them all the way down the straight past the pagoda on the left, and then you could see them go up and then into turn 1. So the only sections we didn't have the eyes on them was about halfway through turn 1 and then all the way on the backside. So I wasn't alive when Mario was still running, but his team was. So like Tony Kanaan, like all those guys, the same time as when oh dude, Tony was awesome. He's still cool. He does a lot of sim racing now. But he his thing though, like one of the reasons why he's just like in my mind like a big motorsport guy is only driver in history to win Formula 1. Only driver in history to win the Indianapolis 500, and only guy in history to win the Daytona 500. All 3 of them.
Triple crown.
That is obviously one of the hardest things. You have to be perfect. You have to be
versatile,
perfect in each each field with that. And so he not only was able to like come through, and he won, let's see here, IndyCar, he won 4 times in 65, 66, 69, and 84. He won races across 4 decades. So the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, all the way through, he was winning races and pretty much just showing people, like putting it on the table, essentially. And then he took that into running the teams. So he had, I believe, even Danica Patrick ran on that team for a second. In IndyCar when she jumped over Andretti Green.
Say was the year that she won when she was driving for him.
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
I remember watching that race.
Yeah, Go Daddy, the green car with the weird little dude with the sunglasses on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so because growing up, my family and I were huge Penske fans. So my dad hated Andretti, so I hated Andretti. But then I grew up and realized like how amazing that man was for the sport itself, for motorsport in general. Because again, it wasn't just IndyCar. This dude dipped his toes in Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, and now he has teams all across different aspects of motorsport racing. So that's why I believe he definitely should be on the top 5 of just one of the best influences in motorsports.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, everybody knows who Andretti is, even if you don't
Exactly.
watch racing.
Even
Everybody
if you don't
knows
watch
who he is.
IndyCar. Yeah.
No, yeah. Even if you don't watch racing in general, it doesn't matter. Like, you know who he is. Andretti means fast. Always has.
Speed. Absolutely, dude. No, I love that. Absolutely.
No, he is absolutely the man. And I mean, so for me, my number 3, I'm going on to number 3 now. This one, I don't think a lot of people are going to know. They're probably not, unless
I don't even know, so
somehow
I'm
grew up like
excited
me.
for this one.
Yeah. So his name's Dennis Anderson.
Taillights that high up on any monster truck. I gotta say, he landed the sky wheelie on the top half of the back half of the roof. That's crazy stuff.
Dennis Anderson putting on the show the Houston fans have loved for decades.
Oh my, that's scary. Hang on, throttle time. Right there, sets it down. He's got it.
It's about scary. That's a ride in the park.
Now, Dennis Anderson, this is another strange category a lot of you probably haven't watched. He was actually one of the original monster truck guys. So when you think of monster trucks, you think Bigfoot, right? Everybody knows Bigfoot, big blue truck. The opposite to Bigfoot was Gravedigger. Again, he was the villain, right? It was an all-black Chevy panel van. He built it in 1982. Again, right alongside that same time period where it existed. And back then, these trucks, they were, $50,000 back then was a crazy amount of money. But they were it was probably a $50,000 truck. But he grew a sport, right? Monster trucks were exhibition. They were a sideshow. They weren't the main show. Now, flash forward even to the 90s. Monster Jam is created, and you have full-blown stadium sellouts. You go to the early 2000s, you have Las Vegas, Sam Boyd Stadium, a freaking soccer stadium, sold out to watch monster trucks. Okay. And maybe this is me as a wrestling fan and seeing they had a lot of crossovers, of course, but seeing this event sell out massive venues, insanity to see the growth, the amount of money that goes in. He truly grew a business. Now, the funny part is, right, Monster Jam was incorporated, I believe became a thing in 2000 was the first year, or maybe it was 99. They came up with the World Finals. World Finals puts together all the greatest trucks in the world. They compete for trophies. There's a racing champion and a freestyle champion. Freestyle didn't exist until Dennis Anderson decided it existed. So racing, clearly we know side-by-side monster truck racing. It's a little bit more exciting now, but we don't go there for that. We go to watch the trucks crash, catch on fire, do flips, do all this stuff. He's the man who came up with the idea.
Trucks that size should not be doing.
Yes. Insert clip. It is it is the coolest. If you haven't gone to see one in person and you turn your nose up at it, I promise, take a look. You will be impressed at the end of the day. It is amazing. He's the guy who came up with freestyle. Go out there, hit stuff as fast as you can, and have people judge you on it like it's a gymnastics run. But funny thing is, right? He was in Monster Jam for a long time. He was only a 4-time champion. He competed up until 2018? Yeah. He only won 4 times from 2000 to 2018. But he was the largest influence on that. He created guys who came along, people that aspired to be like him. You have Todd LeDuc, who drives the aforementioned Metal Militia truck, Tom Mentz in the Maximum Destruction truck. He gave that attitude of, I don't care if I'm winning, but man, I'm going to beat the absolute crap out of this truck and you're all going to cheer for me. And he always used to say at the end of every show, whether he won or lost, he always said, I thank every single one of you who bought a ticket here, who bought a t-shirt. You are responsible for every nut and bolt on this truck and every shingle on my roof. Thank you for letting me do what I do. And that's a guy that's very aware. He's aware, you know, and you know, even if you don't watch Monster Jam, Monster Trucks, any of that stuff, you're not a redneck like me. You know what Gravedigger is. You've probably seen the truck.
So, real quick, I didn't know what his name was. As soon as you said Gravedigger, dude, duh. That is when I think of Monster Jam, because I watched on TV a little bit here and there. I believe we went back in Indiana, it was the RCA Dome before it got tore down. Yeah, dude.
Massive
So I
shows.
went and actually saw I went and saw a Monster Jam at RCA when I was young. It just wasn't anything that was like super big to me. I thought it was cool, but like when you said Monster Jam, I immediately thought Gravedigger before you said who he was. So yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And now he has kids. He has a few kids who are actually racing, still doing it. You got Ryan Anderson, who drives the Son of a Digger, the follow-up truck. Adam Anderson, his oldest son, who has continued the Gravedigger. His daughter, Kristen Anderson, who drives another Gravedigger, and his other son. So it's a family affair.
It's like
His other
Andretti
son-
for monster trucks.
Yeah, exactly. He drives, his name's Weston Anderson. He drives another Gravedigger who just started up this year, or last year, actually. And you have other drivers who've come in, gotten to drive Gravediggers, but there's now multiple Gravediggers touring. The entity was actually bought out by Feld Entertainment, and he's grown a $50,000 truck into a multi-million dollar
That's
entity.
insane.
And I personally, I would credit him with kickstarting Monster Jam to what it is. Him and Tom Mentz, they were the two rivals. They were the competitors with each other up until the retirement of each. It's a never-ending battle. He was the man, always will be the man. Never get tired of watching his highlights. I will rewatch them no matter how many times I've seen them. I don't know. Something about it just always resonated with me, and it was that never back down. I am pushing my absolute hardest. I don't care what happens or what shape this is in. I'm doing it, but thank you, everybody.
No, that's cool. That's a cool little history lesson right there. Like, because again, like I've never been really big with it, but it's always obviously been. It's fascinating to see these gigantic trucks that have no business doing flips and 360s and 180s and
Yeah,
manual
it's amazing.
nose manuals and wheelies. Like, dude, it is a cool thing to see, and that's really cool to learn about.
Yeah. I will never forget the first time I went to a stadium show, and we were sitting in the front row. I physically had to look up to see where the monster truck was at Gillette Stadium. Okay. If that's not amazing, I don't know what is. These things are 20 feet tall, 15,000 pounds. And I had to look up because of how high it was jumping. Okay.
That's nuts.
And it wasn't even right next to me. It was across the stadium. I had to look up.
That's so wild. No, that's awesome. I'm honestly switching gears back to another platform. Mr. Lamont, the endurance specialist himself, Tom Christensen.
And look, there's only 2 corners left to go. And Tom Christensen, imagine what it's like inside that helmet. He has done it. The checkered flag flies. Tom Christensen is the greatest ever driver at Le Mans. Wow. 7 victories for Christensen.
This man, literally, if you think about Lewis in the aspect of Formula One, this is the Lewis Hamilton of endurance racing. This man, Tom, he has 9, count them, 9 total Le Mans victories. By far, no one in history has even come close to that number. I think the closest person in history other than him is 4 or 5 total Le Mans, and he won them all with Audi. So he was with one team doing it through the whole time, so Audi hypercars. He won the 24-hour Le Mans 9 times. Oh, no, I was wrong. Next highest driver is 6 wins. So still 3 wins away. That's a gap, bro.
This. I'm learning this with everybody else. This is fascinating.
And not 6 of those times came back to back to back to back to back. All from 2000 to 2005. His 6 consecutive victories from 2000 2005 in and of itself is a staggering number. Take away the 9.
That's never been that's nobody else
6
has ever done that.
Back to back is So pretty and for those of you, I mean, I feel like everybody at this point, like Le Mans is one of those things that's been around since pretty much cars have been around, essentially.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
these, at least
It's the
with
original.
racing, has been around. It's the original. I mean, Ford versus Ferrari gives you a whole backstory on it. This has been going for almost 100 years now.
Yeah.
You're saying that no one in history is other than this one man has been able to win 9 times.
Amazing.
With that, you're obviously, it's not just for those of you who don't know what the 24 hours Le Mans is. It's not just one person driving for 24 hours. It's a team of 3 to 4 people that's trade out. It is through rain, sunshine. I believe it even ran with snow at some point. Or no, that might be the Nürburgring I'm thinking about actually. Um, and it's at night. You are going on 4 hours of sleep if you can even get any shut eye during this. You are pushing the limits. Back when he won, they did not have floodlights. There were no floodlights illuminating the track. They were physically going off of
sketchy
headlights. That's it.
That's sketchy. That's sketchy.
These guys, even back then in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were still hitting 200 miles an hour. And it's not like at nighttime you're going to be slowing down. If you slow down, you're losing time. You're losing your spot. You're losing position. They're pushing these vehicles. And like, there's a documentary. It's a little 10-minute clip about himself. And he said, like, you don't blink, especially at nighttime. You don't blink because if you blink,
I bet
it's catastrophe. The year in 2005, when he won the last of the 6 in a row, that was when one of his really good friends passed away, but also 3 months prior, his father passed away. One of his good friends was in a GT car in an Aston Martin, smashed the wall, died on impact. And the race went on. Everyone was like, oh, why aren't they red flagging it? People die in the Le Mans. This is something that's happened for decades. People die, you jump back in the car, you clean the track, you go and you finish the 24 hours.
Jesus Christ. That's
and
wild.
he straight up was like, this is for my boy. He's like, Dad, you've got to see me win a lot of them. This one's for Alan. And one thing too with it is, in 18 starts, he achieved 14 podium finishes. That's a 78% rate as long as he finished the race. And he also holds the record. Get this, and it's not just Le Mans. He also holds the records for most wins at the 12 hours of Sebring. And that's pretty much confirming that he is a dog. But he also went on to win the World Endurance Championship. So he went on to win WEC.
You just can't stop this guy.
Yep. He is and will be for a very long time. Unless Max comes over, that's what I'm thinking is like the only person I feel that might be able to do anything. And if he gets to GT racing soon enough, is Max. Like, I don't see anyone else being able to meet that man at the same time. So
honestly, the 6 wins in a row, who's going to get close to that?
He was in the
level
R8
of domination.
He was in the from the R8 to the R18 e-tron Quattro. And by the way,
I remember that car.
Some of that specific car itself and a lot of the cars that he won in didn't have windscreens. They didn't have windshields. It was wide open like an F1
I remember
car.
those. Yeah. I remember those cars.
So
that's terrifying.
Tom Christensen.
24 hours in that thing.
Absolute dog, absolute legend. Y'all know I love endurance racing, and that's why he is my number 3 on my list.
Deservedly so. That's incredible. I didn't know. I heard the name and I know about Audi and their domination, but I didn't know that one man was behind so many of them. That's the amazing thing, right? You talk about all these different drivers he had to pair with, but they're all different every year, and he's still there. And he's still winning.
Some
That's
of them,
amazing. That's awesome.
he did have a couple that stayed with him. But again, like you said, it was just him with 9. There's no partners with 9.
Yeah, he's the rotation. So that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah,
awesome, super cool. So for me, I'm moving up to my number 2 here. Number 2, from a guy who apparently has a shitload of championships to somebody who has actually 0. This man is probably the largest car influence in any kind of car culture, I would say, other than the Fast and Furious franchise when it first came out. Ken Block. Ken Block. Ken Block is, I don't know how to say it other than he was the man. He was the without Ken Block, a lot of what we have right now, I would say in any series, in any kind of car culture, probably doesn't exist. If you don't know who Ken Block is, what rock are you under? But Ken Block was Ken Block was a gentleman who raced in the world of rally. He was a very good rally racer. Never won a championship, but he's been on many podiums and he's won individual rallies. He is not actually an X Games champion whatsoever. He only has a bronze medal.
Blows my
But
mind.
it is an amazing thing. His thing was style. Okay. Ken Block had the style of nobody else. And he showed it most, I would say, through his company, Hoonigan. Now, Hoonigan is probably the largest car culture company and car paraphernalia, whatever you want to call it. Largest car. I mean, I have
Merchandise.
so many T-shirts, just the largest merchandising company that ever came out of it. Stickers everywhere. Hoonigan was synonymous with DC shoes.
DC
which,
shoes.
if you were born anytime in the 90s or early 2000s, you know what DC
You owned
shoes are.
one at least. You owned
Monster
one pair
Energy,
at
which
least,
we
and you
all know
can't
what
tell
is.
me you didn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they looked like Lego blocks on your feet and you loved them. But he, Monster Energy. He came up and eventually his own brand, but also Gymkhana. Gymkhana is a series of videos of him starting out in a Subaru, all the way up to a Ford Fiesta, to then a Ford Focus, to then the Hoonicorn, which was a crazy Mustang, to the Hoona truck, which was this ridiculous pickup truck. And then finally passing the torch over to Travis. And something that still continues today, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many millions of views are amassed between all these videos. I know it's millions because they all have millions.
I mean,
of views.
yeah.
And then you go on to the Hoonigan channel. Hoonigan, as a business, has brought me some of my favorite car influencers as well. You look at Hurt in his RX-7. You have Brian and all his crazy cars. I mean, there's just so many guys that came from there with these crazy builds. We gave them this platform to go out there and start their own thing. Unfortunately, Ken did pass in a snowmobiling accident. But he was known for constantly just pushing the limit. He always pushed the limit. When it came from either driving the car, riding snowmobiles, being on a snowboard, thrashing his car around the tiny loading dock yard they had for their company. He was just the man, and he had this touch on people. He had this influence on people. He pulled guys from California, from New York, from Utah, from here, from there. He pulled these guys together, and he put together an incredible thing, traveled the world. I can't think of anybody who impacted car culture as a whole more than Ken Block.
No, and I 1,000% agree on that one. He was on my list. I was like, I gotta give one of these away to you. Honestly, I will still always remember the first Gymkhana, the one where he was in the blue, the blue. Was it the blue Subaru?
Yeah, the blue, black, and blue
on the
Subaru.
airfield, on the airfield,
the Hawkeye.
the abandoned airstrip. Bro, I was like 16 when that came out. Like,
Dude,
maybe
there was nothing
even,
else like it.
dude, nothing like it. You're watching this and you're just you're getting wowed every time he did the next sequence. It was, and again, like you said, like, you might not have won, but he paved the road for so many people.
Yeah,
so
he
many
was the man.
people.
He was the man.
No, I
Like I
think
said, he impacted car culture in a way that nobody else could.
No, and I remember, like, the day that he passed, like, I was actually sad, and I feel like a lot of people were actually sad.
It was devastating. I mean, my first car was a Ford Focus. And I had Hoonigan stickers all over it, and the style of which his cars were, that kind of loud, boisterous style, was how I kind of aspired my car to look and things I aspired to do. And he paved that way. He's what shaped my car taste at that time.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great choice, honestly. And his daughter now taking the reins, doing all sorts of things, going
Dude,
from
she's a badass.
from
She's a
F3 or
badass.
F4 back to doing Pikes Peak to Rallycross. Like, dude.
Yeah. She actually said she's going back to WRC now. She's going into WRC. And she said that WRC feels faster than F2, or Formula Academy, I should say. Actually feels faster. And I will say,
yeah, because you're on a road this big.
dude, if you're in WRC, I don't care who you are, you're first place, last place, you're a badass.
Something is also wrong. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you have issues. You have mental issues, but I want to be your friend.
Literally. My number 2, it's a sad one, but still one of the biggest influences, though, someone who had a lot of good changes and a lot of changes that came from their death, Ayrton Senna. Senna, as many of you know, like, other than like Lewis, him being the statistical like guy of Formula One, Senna was pretty much the purest, fastest talent. He was one of the best, if not the best in history in the wet. And he was still to this day, one of, if not the top qualifiers in history. He had some of the best qualifying runs. He had that pure driver grit too. He started off in karting, he had a temper. He had that, but he had the fire that he was passionate about what he did. And if you had the chance to watch like the documentary, the docu-series, and just watch some of his racing, like if you have F1 or if you have YouTube, look up some of his racing. This man, his throttle control, he had his own traction control before traction control was a thing. Like,
it's very unique.
You can hear on some of his older clips, he'd be going through turns and he's giving the traction, he's putting it down, and that's why he was so fast. He won, and he was the 3-time world champion in 88, 90, 91. It was how he drove, though. He could have not won any of them, and I still probably would have him as one of my top motorsport influencers, because what he did, he had like a spiritual connection with the cars that he was driving. And I mean, he finished a race with no power, with no steering. He literally finished the race. One, he could not hoist the trophy at the end of it because his arms were done. He couldn't hoist it whatsoever. He like was holding it up like this, trying to get it up. And because he had to wrestle a bear for half of an F1 race, literally the qualifying genius. So his most legendary display, this still blows my mind, 1988 Monaco, McLaren that Alain Prost was in. He out-qualified him by 1.427 seconds in the same car. That's insane. You don't see that nowadays. You look at it and you see like 1/10, and you're like, oh wow, that's a lot.
If you're lucky.
2/10, oh my god. If you're lucky, it's 200ths, it's 2000ths sometime now. You don't see a whole
for the whole field.
1.5 seconds ahead. And so unmatched speed. And like, again, I will say this till I'm blue in the face, the FIA killed Ayrton Senna. They pushed them. They pushed them. I can never pronounce the guy's name right. Rosin. What was the other dude's name?
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't say his name either.
Rosin Gentler, whatever it was. Well, he passed away that same weekend, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
still made them go
Day
out.
before.
It was at Imola. The track back then was shit. It was concrete,
Mhm.
like slabs
Terrifying.
that were raised up. No business driving on it. And they all said, "Yo, he just died. You guys are gonna make us race?" And they're like, "If you don't want to race, you don't have to." And Senna's like, I'm Senna. I'm gonna race."
Yeah.
Um,
If there's a race, I'm racing.
and I mean,
But
he
we
had
shouldn't.
the yeah, he had the greatest quote of all time. If you don't go for the gap, you're no longer a racing driver. And so he literally, I mean, because of him, it was after his death. It was after that weekend. We didn't see another death in Formula One until the mid 2010s. And it was during,
Yeah.
it was an F2 practice, I believe it was, where the kid died at
Yeah.
Spa.
Yeah, I remember watching that one too.
But a lot of safety precautions came into play. They started paying attention, and the biggest thing is, and you'll see it in the documentaries, you'll see it in the docuseries, they didn't like him. He wasn't UK, he was Brazilian. He was trash to them, but he still came up and showed out and showed them that, nah, you can call me trash all you want. I'm gonna kill all your boys. And he did. He did it
Yeah.
3 years in a row, and it's just one of those guys like your next one that you're about to talk about. What could have been accomplished? What could this man could have
Yeah.
done moving forward throughout the series?
And you know, with Senna, I think Senna holds a special place in any Formula One fan's heart. My two most memorable moments of him, I would say, so that same Monaco Grand Prix, there's a specific radio message halfway through the race of Alan Prost coming on. Where's Ayrton? He goes, "Oh, he's behind you." And he's like, "Oh, I'm in first?" "No, he's lapped everybody." What?
That
He
doesn't
lapped the whole
happen.
field except for second place. And the
Doesn't
guy
happen.
in the same car, he's right behind him. Yeah, I mean, the guy was just absolutely nuts. And then there is a specific colorized video of his qualifying lap in Silverstone. The year escapes me, but you see this tiny car with 1,500 horsepower ripping around Silverstone before plankware was a thing, which plankware is a thing because of him. 1,500 horsepower, bottoming out constantly. It probably weighs 500 kilos, which the conversion, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that's really friggin' light.
It's 2.2 pounds is a kilo. So
1,000 pounds, a little bit over 1,000 pounds.
little like 1,300 pounds, 1,200 pounds, more horsepower than
So-
weight. That's wild.
Yeah, that's terrifying. So this guy, they show him going around, and throughout the whole thing, the car's just sparks everywhere. It's daytime. There's sparks going everywhere.
Shouldn't see
This
that.
is it. I've watched that video so many times because the sheer speed is shocking, and then you realize, oh my god, I think this is in the 80s. What's wrong with people? And it's a stick shift car.
Yeah, add that. It's a stick
So
shift
cool.
car. Insane.
So cool.
Nah, just a madman and just a great guy. Like, he did so much for the culture in Brazil. His family, even after his passing, did so much for the culture in Brazil and for trying to pretty much help end some form of poverty there. Like, there was just he had a vision before, and his family actually took it and went with it after he passed. So it was cool to see that, and all the love every year. Sao Paulo, chef's kiss of a race.
Yep. Still to this day.
So give us your number
All right,
one,
so
because I love this individual.
So number one for me, again, this might be somebody not a lot of people know. They're going to know the name. They're not going to know why he's so important to me. It's Colin McRae.
And he sets it up. And he rolls it over. But he's still on.
But he's going after it. He's going after it. Can he do it? A rollover on the final jump. The car looks totally destroyed, but he keeps it going.
Colin McRae, he was, I don't know where to start. Well, he was a one-time World Rally champion, but it was the way he did it. He had a fairly long career. He was the youngest world champion at 27 years old in 1995. He's still number 2. Okay. He has the second most wins in rally history, only bested by Sebastian Loeb, who had a longer career because Colin died. Colin, he was everything. Okay, my first taste of Colin was a video game. Colin McRae Rally 2.0. Played with my dad hours upon hours in that Ford Focus that he had, white martini livery, raced it, loved it, memorized it. I can still go back, play that game. And I remember every track. I remember every corner. I remember how to, it's burned in my head. He also came up with, he was the most badass racer of all time, in my opinion. Nobody will ever reach his level. I don't care who comes out. There is nobody who will have the absolute badassery of this man. His saying, this is my favorite quote of all time in any kind of motorsport, is when in doubt, go flat out, which he was friggin' famous for. His team owners hated him for it. His managers hated him for it. And Carlos Sainz, his dad, Carlos Sainz Sr., hated him for it too. He was actually, if you didn't know, in the 94, 95, he was actually teammates with Carlos Sainz Sr. on Subaru. They had quite the rivalry because Colin was the new kid coming in on territory. They came down to the wire, and Subaru tried to tell Colin, look, we're 1 and 2. We got to let Sainz is ahead. We're going to let him win it. It's the last stage. Let him win. Colin McRae said, fuck that. And there's a lot of videos of it out there. Him just pushing as hard as he can because he drove at 150%. And he talks about it very openly. Other guys talk about it very openly. The only driver to drive at 150% every time he got into a car. And it ended in a lot of crashes. But so that in these last stages, he pushes 100% against team orders. There's team members from Subaru standing in the middle of the stage, and he's barreling at them, doesn't touch the brakes. His own guys. Doesn't touch the brakes.
Hey, get the fuck out of the way, dude.
You cannot put this man down. And you know the only reason he lost that year? The car broke down. The car broke down. The engine blew. He was done. He wasn't giving it up. He didn't care. They told him, they said, if you don't give it up, we're firing you. You're done. He didn't care. He was there to win. He's just there to win. But just an absolute maniac. When he first started with Subaru, he actually rolled a car it wasn't 5 times. What was it? 7 times? 7 times. Rolled a car consecutively 7 times. Not 7 times like he went off the track 7 times. He had a rollover that had the car upside down 7 times. 1 crash. Landed on its wheels, and he says, I didn't expect it to keep running, but I put it in reverse to check and it kept going. They had to take the car to a body shop, beat it back into being eligible to race, and repaint it. The paint was still wet when they inspected it for tech. They wouldn't let them touch the car. And he goes on, he races. First stage, what's he do? Rolls the car over 3 more times through a tree and breaks it in half.
Jesus Christ.
The guy, and he earned the name, Colin McRae. He earned it. But if he finished a stage, you weren't beating him. Nobody was beating him. You weren't even getting close. The guy was just an absolute monster. And then the next time he really showed up for me was the X Games. And it was in 2007, was it? Yeah. Oh, 2006. So same year, he's out here competing with some names we might have known and we might have talked about a couple of times. Travis Pastrana and Ken Block. So it comes down to the final. If you haven't watched X Games Rally, this was different than the Rally Cross. Rally was individual stages, and it ended in the middle of the Los Angeles Coliseum. So cool. Go through this whole thing, start this final stage for the rally. He needs to beat Travis. He's running, ripping, positive, comes to one of the final checkpoints to check in for times, and they're about even. There is a jump when you enter the stadium, and then another jump at the floor of the stadium. And then you have to take a right turn, left turn, cross the line. That's it. So Colin decides, I'm not slow. I'm not playing it safe. I'm winning this race, and I'm winning this race by 10 seconds, okay? Sends it over the first jump, rips the bumper underneath the car. Sends it over the second jump, sideways. Car flips and lands on the wheels. He keeps going. Finishes the race. He lost less than half a second being upside down. Because when he's upside down, you watch the replay, he actually mid-flip downshifts from second to first. So when the car lands on the wheels, he can dump the clutch and keep going. And then when he crosses the line, he actually plows through the barriers at the end because the car was so messed up.
I remember that to this day. That was one of the, and Travis was like jumped out of his car, was hooping and hollering with him, like having it like straight losing his mind. And
Yep.
it was, you even say the color was the gold no fear, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That dude, when I saw him flip, I literally like jumped out of my chair. And I was like, "Oh my god, it's over." And then all of a sudden it lands, gone right over the finish line. That
Incredible.
was one of the coolest experiences in X Games.
Absolutely. And I would say that was probably the moment in motorsport that's most burned into my mind. I've watched it I don't know how many times. I've rewatched that race I don't know how many times. The guy is an absolute you say dog. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. Nobody
And he
will ever
didn't
push a
seem
car.
like it though. When he talked, he
No.
didn't have that dog like mentality like when he spoke. But you put him behind the wheel and you've got a pit bull. Like that
Yeah,
dude.
you weren't beating him. There's actually so the very last rally he competed in, I'll go back to a couple things after, but the very last rally he competed in, he was with Citroen. It was his third manufacturer. Yeah, because he was with Ford, Subaru, and Citroen. His very last rally was in a car that the entire field considered not competitive. Completely uncompetitive car, would be last. Take a stab where he finished. It's not first.
Second.
Yep.
Third. It's a second.
Second. Worst car in the entire field. Second place. What? And this is towards the end of his career. He was just an absolute monster. He actually won. So one last thing before I go to the final thing here. Lots of things. He won a division of the British Rally Championship in, let's see, how many? So you know how now we have these guys, they all race in one car the whole year. That's too easy. We raced in 5 different cars with different makes. Ford Escort, Toyota, Subaru, cars I've never heard of. He raced in all of them, and as an individual driver, won the championship.
That's wild.
Crazy. That doesn't happen. You can't do that.
That doesn't happen.
Exactly. I mean, to finish things up with him, he also was responsible for, so of course, Colin McRae Rally, but also the Dirt series, which I'm sure you've played. I know I've played Dirt 1, 2, 3, 4, Rally 2.0, 5, whatever, what have you. Played the ever living, just played those games till they didn't work no more. So when you talk about pop culture, Ken Block, Ken Block's biggest influence, I'm going to guess, is probably a Colin McRae. There was just nobody like him, and there never will be. That's just not the attitude that's allowed anymore. For a fun fact, he actually drove Martin Brundle's F1 car, and everybody said during this, God, if he wasn't so passionate about rally, he'd probably be an F1 champion.
Yeah.
Because, and you want to know why? So he had less than 10 laps in that car. He was less than 2 seconds slower than Martin Brundle's best time.
Damn.
Less than 10 laps. Less than 10.
That's
if that's not impressive, I don't know what is.
No, that's wild. 10 laps. I mean, think about, you give them 10 months.
We have guys
nuts.
now that have been in here for years. They can't get anywhere near the front.
Yeah. Yeah. Alpine. Anyways.
Lance Stroll.
He's gotten near the front. Let's give him that. We can give him that.
Because the race got canceled early.
That's fucked. Rounding out with my favorite, my number one, Mr. 7-time, should be 8, Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Be unique in my own way. And now he finds himself alongside Michael Schumacher as top in the record books. The World Championship record is equalled. Lewis Hamilton wins the Turkish Grand Prix and is a 7-time champion of the world.
Get in there, Lewis. What a way to win your 7th world title.
I know we spoke about him earlier, but he is and will be, not in just my opinion, but statistically, the GOAT of Formula One. Statistically, he was, and like you said earlier, he just came in with that different style. He shook the scene up. He made it more of, I mean, he made it more inclusive. Like, he is a very big proponent for diversity, both through the sport and through just life, being a good human being. But let's talk why he is, in my opinion, the best. He doesn't just hold the shared record of wins or of championships with Schumacher. He holds the most race wins of 105 plus, most pole positions of 104, and the most podium finishes of 202. There's a certain somebody who is coming close to a few of these records. Will we see it happen? Will he stay long enough? Will Max do it? I don't think so. He might get one of
Me
them.
either.
That's insane to think about. Is like through the, I mean, again, he's been around for a while now. So like I said earlier, I grew up with IndyCar. Formula One was one of those things, like, wasn't in the house. If I wanted to watch Formula One, I had to like do it on my own time, and we had one TV. So there's really no way I was doing that. But things in life happened in 2008, 2009. I really started watching Formula One, which is around the time Lewis started on his absolute tear. He made it cool, in my opinion. Like, his style was like you said earlier, he came in with the tattoos, he came in with, and again, someone coming from X Games and loving all that, those guys were decked out in tats, gauges, piercings, everything. And I see this guy in Formula One, you see all these prim and proper stuck up assholes, and then you see Lewis Hamilton coming on the scene, just dappered up, like looking fly, jumping in these cars and putting all of these people to shame as a young kid. And I like compare him like the Tiger Woods of Formula One. Like, Tiger Woods did the same thing. He came into the scene, a very white dominated sport, both of them, and said, yo, let me show you guys how to do it. And my biggest thing, and I know he didn't win this year, but when Nico Rosberg won and then retired 8 days later, and his reasoning why was because he hated himself for who he had to become to beat Lewis Hamilton. He said that he knew that if he wanted to do this, like, Lewis doesn't have kids. Lewis has had girlfriends throughout the years, significant others, nothing really crazy though, because Lewis is, when he locks in, when he's focused, he's got a good team behind him. Jesus Christ, please, next year, for the love of God. He's got a good car underneath him. All it is driving. That man, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365. It is Formula One. He doesn't give a shit about anything else. And Nico knew that to beat him, he had to cut everything off. He had to focus. Diet had to be on point. Training regimen had to be on point. Track time had to be on point. Everything travel had to be on
crazy.
point. Like, he knew that he couldn't keep that up, and he literally said, I got my one, I'm fucking out, I can't do this anymore. It messed with his mind for years, like, for what he had to do for 1 year to beat this guy. And to this day, Nico is still, like, they had that little bit of falling out, but he still respects Lewis 1000% for who he is.
Yep. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. You can tell. You can see there's that mutual respect, but there's still that little bit of that hate. You can see it, but that's show me another athlete that's created that.
And honestly, like, 2020 was, like, when he won 2020, like, it was won the title on the wets. He also is one of the best drivers in the wet, like, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the master classes, and my God, it will never not be an amazing showing of Sao Paulo when he started from the back and won the sprint, and started from the back and won the race. The only time we saw that was at Sao Paulo again from Max.
Yeah,
So
and he
it's
didn't
like,
win.
and he didn't win. So like it is literally unparalleled. Like you said, statistical dominance, the
Numbers don't
longevity
lie.
with Mercedes, numbers don't lie. And again, he's done a lot for the racing culture for a lot of people to be like, yeah, I could do this.
Mhm.
People like
Yeah.
people of color like are getting more into the racing because of people like Lewis, because of people like Jan. Like Jan was another one I wanted to put on here, but there were too many. There were
So
so many greats I wanted to put on here.
there's not enough spots. There's not
No,
enough
so
spaces.
honestly, like hands down, at least in F1, Lewis Hamilton will be the greatest of all time. I don't think anyone else is going to be able to touch that. Max is going to come close, maybe.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
in a
see
different way
him
though.
in a different way. Absolutely.
I don't think I think from a natural talent perspective, we glaze Max a lot. He's phenomenal. Pure talent,
Yeah.
100%. You know what? Level playing field, if not Max is above. But when it comes to impact, the longevity of that impact and success, I don't think Max cares to actually match up to it. Whether or not he can might be a different question, but I don't think he cares to. I don't think
Yeah.
Max is going to be around here long enough to match
I
the
don't
race
think so.
wins, match the podiums, match the finishes, match any of that.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's got
but
bigger
it just,
fish to fry once this is done. He's going to
yeah,
endurance. He wants to put his name on the trophies. He wants to win Le Mans. He wants to be in hypercar. Like he's got a long road ahead of him in a whole different sport. Motorsport of all time, Max has a chance to be one of the most all-around best motorsport
yeah,
individuals
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
history. That's his history that he's going for.
Yep, 100%, 100%. I agree. When it comes
Yeah.
to individual accomplishment and individual impact, though, nobody will surpass Lewis
Sir
Hamilton
Lewis.
for the world. And the guy's knighted.
Yeah. Like he is a knighted F1 driver. It's insane. And so honestly, like rounding out, I think both of those, McRae and Lewis, those are good number one spots.
I can't think of a better way to really round it out. You can. It's kind of funny looking back at these. You can kind of see the difference in what we watched and what we grew up with.
Yeah.
Clearly, for some reason, I grew up with a heck of a lot of dirt. um, and you definitely grew up with a lot of tarmac racing. So that's very
A lot of
interesting
tarmac,
and
a lot
very
of
cool.
fast cars.
I never really thought about it or noticed that. That's kind of funny. So I learned something about us, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely. And now we literally don't give a shit what it is as long as it's got 4 wheels, 2 wheels, and he likes to go fast. We love it.
It's all cool. It all goes vroom, and I love it all.
Yeah, except for Tesla. I think that does cover it for this week. It was a long one, but that was a fun one. I like talking about that.
It is. We got, we got this we have this off season going on. Clearly it's a downtime and like action, but we're going to take this opportunity to expand. We want you guys to be able to learn about us a little bit and learn about why we're cool.
Or why we think we're cool.
But while we kind of go through these top fives, tell us about your top fives. I want to hear about it.
Absolutely.
You're whether you're catching this on TikTok, you're catching this on the full length. We want to hear about it. We want to hear what your top 5 is. Who are your most influential drivers? Who are your best drivers? What's important to you? So, as always, so you can contribute to that, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Give us a like and subscribe here on Spotify or YouTube, however you're listening. And, we want to keep that conversation going. As we always say, keep the throttle down and the conversation wide open, and we will see you next week.
Later.